Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Lies the Truth, where we explore and delve deeply into the extraterrestrial contact phenomenon. We are your hosts, Christina Knowles and Bonnie Ferruccio. Welcome to the show, Bonnie. How are you
Thank you,
tonight?
Christina. Oh, I'm terrific. I'm excited.
Good, I am
I
too.
think,
This is very fun.
well, we're offering contactees an opportunity to have a voice. I think this is a very special show. We're not talking at people, we're talking with people. So our viewers are welcome to write us questions to contribute to the conversation and help us move forward with illumination and support.
Excellent, I love it. Well, it's great to have you by my side to explore the weird and wonderful as usual. We also want to let our listeners know that you can find us on the web at ufoextra.com, and you can join us live in the chat room at Spreecast by typing UFO into the search. I want to extend a special thank you to Joe Montaldo of UFO Paranormal Radio Network, that's UPRN, for allowing us the opportunity to produce the show. I should mention also that I am Massachusetts State Director of ICAR, International Community for Alien Research. And you can check us out on the web at icar1, that's ICAR, the number 1.com. I also want to thank all of those who have made the show possible this evening, and especially to our producer, Enrique Delgado, the director of UFO Coin. Tonight we have a special treat for everyone. In just a few minutes, Bonnie Ferruccio and I are going to be interacting with a live audience who have assembled at the Miami International UFO Awareness Group. This group is organized by Enrique and Blanca Delgado and is gaining a lot of positive momentum. But before we do that, we wanted to take a few minutes and introduce ourselves and to our listening audience. So, Bonnie, if you could, would you just briefly explain and share with our listeners how you got involved with the contact phenomenon?
I would be happy to. I'm a lifelong experiencer of very magical and strange experiences. I've learned and grown through all of these events. I have 34 years of journals of my strange experiences, so it keeps my memory fresh. And the one thing that I learned that really disturbed me was that as I was growing up and having these sometimes terrifying experiences, I had nobody to turn to. I had nobody to talk to. So our show offers people like us, experiencers, a voice. We're here to listen to you. We're here to teach you. We're here to support you. It's time for us to unite and help each other. So that's my joy in our agreement together here.
I love it. I
Well,
love it.
when was your first? What got you into this field?
Well, I know my first contact was in childhood, but I didn't recognize it as being contact. I just thought that they were my family. So it wasn't until March of 1999 that it really, that would serve as my adult awakening. And that was a contact event that happened in Apple Valley, California. I was with three of my friends on a hunting trip at night in the desert area there. And we witnessed multiple white orbs in the sky that formed geometric patterns. They were completely, there was no sound. It was just an amazing sighting, but there was also subsequent contact and missing time. And that would serve as the impetus to kind of get this whole thing rolling. And it really had, more busy periods and then less active periods. But it really took me a while. And what's interesting, Bonnie, is you know my story probably better than anyone. I should tell our listening audience that Melinda Leslie introduced me to Joe Montaldo as well as Bonnie Ferruccio at a really interesting time in my life where I needed that support desperately. I felt like I was going crazy. I had tried to talk to a mental health professional about what was going on with myself and my family. And it's a really, really interesting thing because you'd just be surprised how many people are truly in the dark. She wanted to help me, but she was absolutely not educated on this topic whatsoever. So it wasn't until actually being introduced to Bonnie and that was approximately 10 years ago, that we really started to do some heavy work together. And it was beautiful work. It was fun, but you actually got me, Bonnie, to look deeper into my experiences, to validate them, and most importantly, to be okay with them. To be okay with it, not in that tremendous amount of fear, or dread or anything else. And so that's such a gift because and I think that's our vision for this show is that we're able to just give that love back to the community that we know so desperately needs that nurturing. And so we're really going to be doing more of this over the time of the show, and it's just a thrill to be able to do this work. So, did you have anything you wanted
Well,
to add to that?
oh, of course. It's time for us to unite and to support each other. We've been invisible. We've been, abused and persecuted for 2,000 years. Well, that contract is ended. It's okay for us to be us now. And it's okay as soon as we say it's okay. I'm done apologizing for having my gifts and having my experiences. And for those that don't believe it, it really hasn't changed anything. I still have my experiences. And I've had people tell me, oh, I'm crazy. Well, I have over 1,000 pictures of strange objects in the sky. So I figure if I'm crazy, I'm good at it, and I have pictures. And I'm sure many of our listeners have pictures, and I believe that you might be crazy, but it's not because of this. This is real. So
That's
that's my
exactly.
perception, and I'm happy to give experiencers their voice. I think this is huge.
Excellent.
We
And
can
I should
listen.
mention that it is. And I should mention too that a lot of the work that we've done over the years has also been an effort to fill in the gap in the community. So many times research organizations might just be interested in researching a case, let's say, but there's all those other things that an individual needs. Sometimes it's therapy, certainly. Other times it's a buddy. And so we've actually put together, quite, extensive documentation and things that we hope out to roll out in the future in both the paranormal field and the UFO field in regards to how to help organizations identify how to create their own buddy system so that we can put individuals that do want to meet other individuals that are experienced and that have these kinds of experiences frequently an outlet to talk to. So
So
very exciting stuff.
how could we apply to be a buddy? What exactly is a buddy and how do we do it?
Yeah, excellent question. To me, in my definition, being a buddy is someone that's actually stable in their contact experiences. So they've come out of the fear of it and they can be a great listening ear without trying to give too much judgment to the individual. The worst case scenario, this is a real um, case story actually. I had a gentleman that I wanted to interview, I'm sorry, I wanted to serve as a buddy to another gentleman, and when the younger man said that he was having these encounters and whatnot, the other gentleman who was hoping, okay, good, he'll be a good buddy, he said, oh, it's demonic. And of course that just threw the other guy off. So a lot of times doing tests just to make sure that someone's really ready. And I think it's going to be a lot more training, therapists getting together and doing videos or whatever else to get that information out because it is trial and error. People have different belief systems and whatnot, but really just listening without judgment, I think, would be the best. What do you think?
I have to agree. I know that I have my experiences along with my perceptions, along with my opinions. So I'm willing to speak my truth. I figure I don't have anybody else's answers. They
Right.
have their own experiences, their own perceptions, and their own truth. So if we can at least be considerate enough to listen, I want you to listen to me, so I kind of think I have to listen to you back the same
Right.
way I want you to listen to me. I'm not looking for agreement. I know my truth. I've done my work. Trust me. I've earned my truth. And if my truth can spark comfort or knowing or give verbiage to others to help them grow stronger and move forward, then I think this will all be worthwhile.
I
So I
agree.
think that you have a foundation, a free foundation. Can you tell us about your foundation?
Oh, yes, I can. I'm actually co-founder of FREE, which stands for Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. And this was it still is a very collaborative endeavor to bring more centered and focused scientific research to the field, as well as a number of other things. So, and you can check us out at www.experiencer.co. And we are also, I should also mention, since you brought that up, Bonnie, that we're currently in production of an upcoming radio show that it looks like Ralph Steiner is going to be hosting for free. And I think that's going to be incredible. He's just extremely knowledgeable in the field of ufology. And again, there's so many of these individuals that don't really get, I don't think, the recognition for being the brainiacs that they are. So I can't wait to hear them on radio. But there's just another example. And, while we're on the subject of that, Bonnie, I wanted to ask you, or at least if you could just take a second and tell the audience about UPX, United Paranormal Experiencers.
Well, thank you. I am the founder of UPX, United Paranormal Experiencers. And what that's about, like I said, when I really needed someone to talk to, there was nobody there. So I invented and designed and am producing this foundation, a global community of paranormal experiencers, not just ET contact, because with ET contact comes all kinds of paranormal, strange events. And who do you turn to? And even though we'll give an example of I know several people that are obsessed with Bigfoot. They've had contact with Bigfoot. But who do they turn to? Well, now they can turn to United Paranormal Experiencers. It's a global community to support, educate, and love each other. Because I'm so tired of this persecution. Time for that to end. It's okay for me to be me. And it's okay for you to be you. It's our planet, too. So I'm open to taking our planet back, and United Paranormal Experiencers supports every group on Earth that is supporting paranormal experiencers. It's all about uniting through telling us that we're crazy, telling us that we're liars, telling us that these experiences aren't real. They have divided and separated us. Therefore, we have been weak and subject to their persecution and abuse. So I know it's real. You know it's real. Now what? We move forward. We unite. And this is what it's about. It's time for us to unite and say, well, as a matter of fact, I do see ghosts. Yes, I do talk to aliens. Yes, I have physical and non-physical experiences. Deal with it. It doesn't matter if people don't believe it. It hasn't stopped anything from happening. So why don't we unite and move forward and see what we can come up with? I think it's a wonderful opportunity for our planet to grow. As a planet, united. There's only one race on this planet, and that's the human race. It's our planet. If we let them divide us and separate us, well, we would be letting them do it. It's a choice. We can choose to unite, support each other, educate each other, and be strong, be unified. So I kind of think this is the beginning of a movement of a unified Earth.
I agree with that
So
completely.
this project, I just want to unite the globe and support in education. And that's all.
Fantastic. It's fantastic. It is exciting. And I think what's great is that I think we are entering into a time where if the public at large, I'll give you an example. 15 years ago, I was on fire after my adult awakening and just couldn't stop talking to people about it. And really, in quite a few instances, made an ass of myself, right? Because they just thought, oh, okay, you're nuts or whatever. There's the giggle factor. But fast forward that till today, it does seem to me that people are much more open because they're either more aware, more educated by means of television, good reporting, or that there seems to be too much of this in the mainstream, to where that they just say, I can't deny it anymore. There's got to be something to it. And again, we don't require agreement. But it's wonderful that you can even talk to folks today, and scratch the surface. And I was actually talking to a dear friend of mine, and he said, when you talk to people, I've noticed that, 1 out of 8 people might be interested in what you have to say. And I thought, oh, and I'm like, realistically, it might be 1 out of 100. But the point is that over time, as we own more of our power and we own more of an understanding, and the only way we're going to do that is by exactly what you said, uniting and comparing notes and owning this. And by doing that, we open the way for people to be more comfortable talking about it. And so, yeah, it does have that weird factor. You're putting yourself on the line, as it were. And at the same time, I think it's important to do this because I want my children to be able to look at the work and the legacy that so many brave men and women that have gone before me have left, and I want to be one of those so that they will be able to figure out their piece in this cosmic puzzle. We know that contactees, typically the research is very much suggesting that it is a family. It's in the family. So ET
All right.
abducts within the same bloodline, same family unit, name it. So all of that really makes you wonder. And I've seen a lot of evidence. And as we progress with this show, it will be interesting to talk about those things that we can, cases that we know we can speak about in stats. So that's exciting to me too, because we'll be able to really explore more of this.
Well, I think that's urgent and important because, like you said, as you started awakening and understanding that, oh my God, this is real. They can call me crazy all they want, but for me, I have pictures, so this is real. Now, what do I do with it? And the people that are just realizing they're having experiences now, they don't have to turn to people that are unqualified to support them. They have the Free Foundation, and they have United Paranormal Experiencer Foundations, and all the other wonderful support groups that are there to give them a voice. Uh, Before that, they never had a voice. We never had a voice. We could go to a UFO conference and let them talk at us, but the experiencers never had a platform to express themselves, their fears, their doubts, their thoughts, their brilliance, their ideas. We are offering this foundation for experiencers to be who they are. It's okay to be an experiencer. We are still all earthlings and we are one planet. This is not their planet. This is my planet and your planet and our planet. So I think we need to get back to that.
I agree.
I think it's a good beginning step. The parade is starting. We're marching down the street now. It's like, it's time. It's okay. One thing I've noticed about experiencers is that most of them are incredibly loving and compassionate and people with high integrity. And if that's what we're spreading, then go team. I think we need a lot more of that on our planet. The media wants to divide us and put us down and abuse us, and they'll do that as long as we let them. And when we unite and realize that, yes, I have a lot of valid insights, then I'm empowered. I have more of my identity, and others will find their self-empowerment. They'll find their truths and their identity. And I believe that will make our planet a much better place to be on. And as your children grow up and your children's children grow up, they will truly grow up in the freedom to express their true selves. I believe it's time to recognize our children's psychic abilities. Find out what they are, what do they mean, how does this work, and support them. You tell them, oh, you're just dreaming, oh, you're crazy. I think we're done with all that rubbish. It's time to respond.
Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely. Yes, I like what you said about taking our planet back because it's really, really that true. And my world still continues to change with the contact phenomenon. But I remember especially in March of 1999, there's so many lessons within those early years that were kind of hidden. And then in working with you over the years, it was like peeling away layers of the onion, and all of a sudden is revealed a deeper truth. And even the experiences that come up themselves, a lot of those we find are layered within the memory, and then they'll come up when someone feels safe to do that. Even having a few regressions, in fact, with Dr. Barbara Lamb, I did myself several years ago, and finally decided to stop that work just for a bit. And I love Barbara. She's absolutely a wonderful woman. It was not no fault of hers. It was just for me. I felt like, all right, I was pushing things a little too quickly, and I wanted to trust just what was coming up organically, if that makes sense, without kind of having to rely on regression or anything else. I decided to try that and kind of slow it down. And it's been working brilliantly. In fact, I was just talking to Joe Montaldo the other day, and he's been such a fantastic mentor, for me throughout the years. And I was mentioning to him that I'm actually starting to flash back on quite a few memories. And we're hopefully going to explore whether or not those are more my lab oriented or whatever. But it's a real blessing when you get to that point, I think, because it's just coming naturally. It's free flowing. And then you can kind of dissect it and say, okay, what is the message that I got out of that? And typically I find there's a spiritual message every time. There's a very practical message within each of those experiences that I can now integrate in my life and take it to the next level. So it's just delightful.
So your experiences have helped you to move forward.
Very
They've
much.
offered you a moral to the experience, a moral to the story.
Right, right. Even my friends throughout the years that haven't totally understood my interest in UFOs after this contact, all they knew is there was the Christina before and then there was the Christina after. And I liken it to girl's life interrupted, something to that effect. I mean, my life absolutely was affected and interrupted, and it literally changed the course. It was going this way and then boom, gone the other way, and never to come back. And so I look at that alone whenever I start to question myself. When I say, you know what, this is very real and very valid, no matter what the rest of the world, acknowledges or not around me, because wow, why would I be on one track and have zero interest in UFOs? I had zero. I was actually just bumbling along, um, not even aware that people were having contact. I did not believe in ET. I did not believe in UFOs. Absolutely not. I would laugh in people's faces if they said that they did. So now I tend to have a lot more compassion for folks as they're trying to catch up to what the hell we're talking about.
Right.
Ah, how do you like
Well, see,
that?
I do. I think we're moving forward, and I think that more and more people are offering places that contactees can go, and because you learn to assimilate your events through speaking it, through hearing the words come out of your mouth. It's like, oh, okay, I understand now. Let's go back. You had mentioned MyLabs. Can you explain to our listeners what a MyLab is? Some people aren't familiar with that term.
That's an excellent question. Well, a lot of folks look at this as more of the military, abduction scenario, which is where a contactee is re-abducted by a military installation of one sort or the next, and um,
Now,
there's a whole
is that
series.
our Army or Navy or is that military? What
Right.
military?
I am not a MyLab researcher. I have researched cases, many. You can't really avoid the MyLab element. But I'm cautious to say that because I think there are so many, I'll be very frank. I feel that there are so many players today in terms of big business, aerospace, technology, that's kind of the underbelly of where this all started. And a government that is afraid to acknowledge to their people that we are not alone in the universe, because then they lose a lot of their control. So we bumble along, and especially in the United States, the worst offenders of them all, in that folks are abducted by ET, and then all of a sudden, lovely, now they're re-abducted. And I'm seeing a lot of this. Young folks, older. I'm seeing it in the United States, in the UK, and other researchers are too globally. So I think there has to be an agenda there, and I can't really say, is it military, even though we've coined the phrase that, or is it some huge aerospace company? You know?
Right. We have a lot. We have a lot of labels without definitions. All
Right.
I know is that a lot of experiencers, after having contact with ETs, they're brought back and handed off to the military. That's what we're calling them, but who knows? Like you said, could be just business. And these people are being drugged and hypnotized, and they use everything they have in their arsenal to find out what the ETs did to you. What did they teach you? What did they tell you? What? So that's what the MyLabs are about, in my
And
opinion. And keep in
primarily
mind,
how the technology worked, right?
technology and medicine and all of the advancements that will make people money. They would do anything for this money. And a little topic for a thought is what can ETs do to us that we don't already do to each other? We're even manipulating cells and molecules. So what is it that ETs can do that we can't? So I'm really not as afraid of ETs because frankly, every one of my contacts has been loving and guiding. They've taught me. I've moved forward. I've never had um, a negative experience unless it was in the form of a screen memory. Would you like to talk about screen memories?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, well, for to me, what they taught me was that a screen memory is different than a dream, in that a dream is fairly chaotic. Okay, that a screen memory seems to be a virtual reality linear event where you are in the scene and yet you can watch yourself as an actor in the scene. And the scene is very real. It's like hyper real, whatever the scenario. I'll give you a good example of one of my teachings through a screen memory. I have an entity that's been coming to me my whole life, okay? And he's with me in all of my screen memories. I think my screen memories are actually classes on a deeper level. And so I'm standing at the foot of my bedroom in a virtual dream. Okay, it's not really my bedroom, but I'm at the foot of my bed. And this bright red demon comes through the wall. And I remember thinking, oh, I get to have a demon experience because everybody talks about them, and I had never had one, and I wanted one. So my ET is coming to me as this demon, but he knows what I consider to be a good-looking man. So he gets this picture from my mind, and here's this hideous demon, but he's got this beautiful man face. I was like, okay. And he's trying to make me scared. You know, he's making all these horrible faces. Whoa, and he's coming through the wall. And I'm thinking, oh my God, you're so cute. It just looked to me like a kitten trying to be me, you know. And so I'm just laughing. I'm having a good time. It's like, oh, good, I get this demon dream. And so my ET comes dead into my face, like in a horror movie. And I'm thinking, wow, that was a good effect. And I'm just enjoying this. And the more I'm enjoying it, the weaker he's getting. And so his face suddenly starts, his flesh melts into his skull. And it's like, oh, well done. That was excellent, you know. And I'm just praising him. And the more I praise him and accept this, the weaker he gets. And he finally drops to his knees. He's so weak, and I decided to tell him my mermaid joke. So my mermaid joke is a goal of mine. They said I have to have a goal. So my goal is to spread this joke around the world. So I'll tell you my joke. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Why do mermaids wear seashells?
I'm going to play dumb on this one, but I've heard it before.
Uh,
From you.
well, they wear seashells because D shells are too big and B shells are too small. So anyway, I told him the mermaid joke, and the screen memory ended. Okay, I won. I battled the demon with laughter. And then
Yes.
2 weeks later, I gave a UFO presentation at a resort, and during intermission, I'd gone outside, and this knowing came to me and said, "Remember, 7'2". It's like, what? Okay, whatever. I just accept this stuff. And then another 2 weeks went by, and I had another screen memory. And I'm in a motel, and I'm walking out of the room into the parking lot, and there's a person there. Well, I've got my goal to tell the mermaid joke. So I was going to walk over and tell this guy the mermaid joke. So we're standing there face to face, and I looked him in the eye. And then I said, I can't tell you the mermaid joke. And he looked at me, never said a word, and smiled. I said, because I already did. And then he stood up and up and up to 7'2". Well, he
Mm.
was my ET. This was another screen memory. So I realized I couldn't tell you the joke. I've already told it to you. And he just seemed so proud that I recognized him through the mask, through the screen memory. I have no idea what he really looks like. He comes to me in all different guises, but he's always
Mhm.
showed me face your fear with joy and laughter.
There
Love
you
is
are.
all that matters. Your physical materializations, nothing. The only thing important at the end of the day and at the end of your life is how much you've loved. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's what my
Absolutely.
ETs are teaching me.
Absolutely. And you and I have
And it
been through
sounds
quite a
sad.
few. Yes. And we've been through quite a few too experiences, I would say, where I know I have, and I've called you and then you'd slow the experience down for me and say, okay, let's slow that down. And then by the time that we did that, I'm saying, oh my gosh, you're right. That's a screen memory. There's always a glitch. And that's what I find interesting about the glitch is it's as if they leave the ETs, they know what they're doing, and they very specifically leave this glitch in the mind so that you'll kind of take note of it and say, oh, wait a minute, that did seem out of, and that's actually helped me to assimilate, and be able to decipher the difference between a dream and a contact experience hidden within the dream, which is a lot of times what they'll do as well.
Right,
And
there
then
will
I
always
remember,
be a flaw.
yes, and then I
There
remember
will
you had
always
said,
be.
yes, the flaw. Sorry. I remember too, you had mentioned a story that I thought was really interesting about the gentlemen that were not dressed in the right period of clothing on the freeway. So
Oh,
that
okay.
was, remember that experience?
Well, tell me
So
again.
that, well, it was the gentleman, the police officer that was wearing the longer coat that was looking like,
Oh,
from the,
that was an extreme screen memory.
yes, because
I
that's
was
the difference between awakening. And so I wanted you to briefly, if you could cover that, to show the audience that there is a difference even between what can happen in waking reality.
right. Well, I was on the freeway in Southern California, and in bumper to bumper traffic, I was facilitator of a UFO support group, ET contact group, and it was in like 60 miles from my house, and I had a long freeway to go, and it was just packed. And suddenly, there's nobody around me. I am isolated on the freeway, and I see two police motorcycles about a quarter of a mile back, holding traffic back. Okay, and then I'm thinking, I was going a little fast, so I was thinking, oh, I should slow down. And I thought, well, if I do anything different, then there'll be trouble. So I just kept going because I had it on cruise control. And all of a sudden, these two police motorcycles ride up towards me, towards the back of my car. Now, the flaw, and how I knew this was a screen memory, was that the policeman on my right had one of those long coats that a cowboy would wear on the range. I don't know what they're called. But it's like, well, you wouldn't have a long coat like that on a motorcycle. It would get caught up in those spokes. And then the other ET to the left of me, him and I were eye to eye in my mirror, my left mirror. And he had his sunglasses on. He was perfectly framed in my mirror. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, I'm not doing anything till I see a red light. And so um, I just told him, I've seen Star Wars. So I told him, everything's fine. Go ahead and move on. And they went around me and took off. It was like, oh my God, that was neat. And so I changed freeways, and suddenly I'm back in traffic, and I changed freeways, and I'm zooming. I really want to get there now. And once again, I'm alone on this freeway, and a cruiser, police cruiser, goes from that side of the road to all the way back to right, dead on my bumper. And I'm looking at him eye to eye in my rear view mirror. Now, as you know, I call all aliens and UFOs, and I call everything Bob. Just because I don't know who they are, where they're from, I don't really care. There's so many different kinds of entities out there. Anyway, so I'm looking at Bob eye to eye. And I told him, well, I just saw your brother, and I let him know that everything's fine. You go on ahead. And he pulled off around me and zoomed away, and it was like, oh my God. So I had two Bob experiences within about 15 minutes. And then later that night during break at the um, support group, we had all kinds of activity up above us. Um, everybody got to see that, oh, jeez, this stuff pretty much is real. That the flaw in a memory or in the screen memory is your cue, it's your clue that, okay, I'm awake. This is a valid screen memory. Here's the flaw. So that's
Um,
my
absolutely.
vision of screen memory.
Absolutely, that's excellent. You just were bringing up for me too that in future shows, what I'd love to do, and I know we'll do, we'll take all these topics and go into a much broader review. Would be wonderful, not just in our experiences, but maybe also share. I think would be very important to educate the public in whatever has been published in regards to this to shine light on that. And then there are some other topics that we can go into the sleep paralysis debate. There's so much about, oh, it's just sleep paralysis, and you're really not.
Well,
And
then I had it on the freeway.
there you go.
Paralysis going 75 miles an hour. I
Yes,
mean 65 miles an hour.
you were speeding. Just be honest. No, you want to talk about that? You're on a roll. I love it. I never tired of hearing about this stuff.
Well, I'm interested in hearing other people's once they start realizing is, uh, oh, that may not have been a dream. That might have been a screen memory. See, the only thing that we didn't have years ago during our experiences is we didn't have the verbiage. Back in the 70s, my family and I would go up into the mountains and go camping. And we'd look out into deep space and you can see things moving across the heavens and making radical turns. Well, I didn't call them UFOs, I called them movers. So we just made up our own verbiage. But nowadays, with the internet and everything, we have the terms, the correct terms, or at least ones that we're familiar with now. So it's hard for experiencers to separate all of the other stuff from the valid educational data that's out there for experiencers. I believe that the only valid information for experiencers comes from experiencers. If you are not an experiencer, you are not qualified to write on the subject, as far as I'm concerned. And I believe that we need experiencer doctors and nurses and psychologists and people that realize, well, this is an aspect of reality that we're going to have to accept. And um, it's time to move forward with this. It's time for experiencers to get the emotional support. We're giving them the verbal support, as much emotional support as we can, but we need specialists for the truly traumatized experiencers.
There
There are
you go.
several out there that have been so abused by their peers and their families and well, not really families, from the relatives. Most people don't realize that we all have relatives, and you can't choose your relatives, but you can certainly choose your family. My life has gotten so much better when I started creating my family. I have family all over the world now. They all love me and support me and admire and respect me just as I do them. And all of the experiencers coming to us and who will come to us are parts of my family. And you are
That's,
certainly a huge part of my family.
thank you. It's an honor. And I know exactly what you're talking about. It's interesting. A couple years ago, I was going through, that was actually many years ago now, but it was after the shift when I really started that awakening process. And all of these friends that I'd made before, and I love them to death, but I didn't have this much in common with them. And I really wanted to seek out others like myself. And then when I was cleaning up my contact database, I was just absolutely amazed recently to find how many experiencers are my friends. And yes, I worked with this one on this project or that, but it just kept growing. It was like 90% experiencers in my life. And
I
I think
know.
that's pretty interesting if you
Well,
look at this
mine's,
phenomenon. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
mine's
pretty.
about that too. 90% experiencers in my life. Well, I need people that can relate to me, you know. I can only talk about the weather and what kind of shoes are in style for so long. And then I've got to talk about important things. I've
There
got a
you
lot
go.
of important things to talk about.
There you
And
go.
the only way we're going to change our planet is through walker talks and
Yes,
to listen.
I agree with that completely. So I wanted to cover something too because I just actually posted it in the topic area for this freecast we're doing this evening. But getting back to sleep paralysis, just so that we kind of come full circle on that. Um,
Can you define for everybody what is
what was
sleep
that?
paralysis?
Right.
Can you
Well,
define that for our listeners?
well, I don't believe that the definition sleep paralysis is anywhere accurate to what the experiencer is encountering. Sleep paralysis is something that doctors, they say that, you're laying there, whatever, you're awake, your mind is awake, but physically you still are unable to move. You're paralyzed. And so a lot of times they'll make that, oh, that's all that that was, and yeah, you might feel like an energy or whatnot in the bedroom, but don't worry, it's all. Now, what gets tricky about that is with experiencers, and not every contactee experiences that anymore. In fact, studies show now with the research that ET is able just to take someone at any point. In fact, ICAR just came out with this not too long ago, but they're able to take folks out of time and space in the daytime. So they're actually having these, so the experiencer could be taken out of a car and then put right back in the car. And because they know how to manipulate time, okay, there you go. You're not even consciously aware. But old school, I guess I should speak for myself, but my early contact experiences, I did have quite a few in daytime and some at night, but I definitely was consciously aware that I was going to have one. Typically, is the way, like seconds before, sometimes 3 days before. There were periods they would let me know 3 days beforehand, you're going to have contact, we're coming. And so that was just really strange, to tell you the truth, to have that momentum building within me. Oh my God, they're coming. And I'd be very excited like a child, but scared at the same time. And of course, the paralysis. So I wake up awake and I'm paralyzed. And a lot of times ET is very specific in what they want you to see. So they'll allow me so many seconds to see them before they switch me off. And then I might come to, let's say, when I get returned, and then I'd start to have flashbacks of what that encounter looked like on the craft. So that was great to actually. I mean, it was freaky at the time, and of course, there's the physical syndromes that go with that too, like the electric shock. I remember one experience in particular that I had in California when I awoke from the encounter. My boyfriend at the time came down the hallway and I was explaining to him, I think I've had this contact, and I said, my body is just vibrating. I don't know. And I reached out and from 2, 3 feet away, I shocked him. And he said, and I thought he was joking. He goes, ow, knock it off. And I was laughing and I go to do it again because it's like a child, this is crazy. I'm shocking someone from 3 feet away. And he was like, knock it off. That really hurts. Don't do that again. And those kinds of things. So, I'd love to have, we'll bring more scientific guests on too that can explain their hypotheses as to why that is.
Well, one
And
thing I've realized is that all experiencers are psychic. We all have special gifts. A lot of experiencers are healers well, through many different techniques. And some are advanced scientists. We all have our gifts. And I think once we learn how to work with our energy and learn how to release it and channel it, no more denying our gifts, no more denying our identity. It's time to be who we are and let that be all right. So I think that, well, how would you have felt if when you were a child, your parents recognized that, oh, you have very strong energy gifts, and say they taught you about them and taught you how to use them successfully and usefully in your life? Well, how would your life be different if you were allowed to be you and allowed to learn and grow with your gifts? I mean, what would our planet look like if it was okay for all of us to be who we are? Oh my God, that's my goal. That and the mermaid
absolutely.
joke.
I love it. I love it. It's true though, isn't it? I mean, it really, really is true. So many times the programming that we have in society and all of our different cultures and everything else that we're just programmed. In fact, Mary Rodwell, um, fantastic work, and she talks about the programming and how that the new children, as they're called, Homo noeticus, and they're, yeah, coming in with this just amazing ability to even recognize the programming and to warn us that, hey, this is a program running, but this is an outdated program. And I love to look at it that way because that's really our society. When you break it down to that, not everyone was fit to be a Boy Scout or blah blah blah. But we got a lot of different programming, and unfortunately, there isn't the support as much. But I think we are getting there by way of lots of different shows and things like that that are highlighting. In fact, like Psychic Kids, I think was a show you turned me on to, and these are
Yes.
just wonderful.
Oh,
Yes, Chip Coffee, just wonderful, wonderful outlets like that, so that parents are aware of. What was that?
I said that's groundbreaking and
Yes,
supporting children.
yes,
It's like, what a concept, you know.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And then to encourage our children to play with those gifts. And I've had that experience certainly with my eldest son, and it's absolutely amazing when you can feel that link. And then even with the two smaller children, younger ones that we have, just absolutely um, a telepathic link. And I like to acknowledge that and fan that flame and let them know that, wow, great job. And that you're, and not to make it weird, although it still feels pretty weird, I have to say. Even though I'm telepathic, very telepathic on the craft, it's definitely different talking to a human telepathically. I'll say
It
that.
is, and I believe that we are all telepathic, and there's been so many years people are running around, is there such a thing? Is there such a thing? You know, and it's like, well, yes, there is. And um, I think that if we were more in control of our thoughts and our actions, and more in control of the words that come out of our mouth, our planet would be a much better place.
Very true. Very, very true. So I'm just taking a look here. I know we might take a short break at the top of the hour, so it doesn't. Although we may, in fact, just keep going. How are you feeling if we just keep rolling at
I'm
this point?
doing fine.
Yes, you
Timing
are. You're
here
doing
is good.
fantastic. Well, I have put a
Thank
note
you.
into our producer. Yeah, I put a note into our producer Enrique Delgado to ask him if how we're doing on the other end there, because we would like to bring a couple of guests on. And let me just read this. Wait just a sec. Visitor. Oh, okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and take this question. And this was posted by a visitor. Do you believe the ETs will eventually contact? And Bonnie, if you don't mind, you want to take a stab at that? I already know what you're going to say.
Will,
Well,
will eventually
hmm
contact what?
so I think what that is referring to is make a more open contact with us globally. So,
Well, I think with the event of the UFO over China, you know, that closed the airport 3 or 4 times, and with the dozens of UFOs in 1952 over the White House, uh, 2 weekends in a row, we sent our jets in and they took off. Jets left, they came back. 2 weekends in a row. There's no denying that. So why everybody said, oh, you know, is it real? Well, it was right there. So yes, they have been contacting us all along, but everybody's going la 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 la. They're not real, you know. But once we relieve everybody of the fear by eliminating the truth, well, they're here. My life is much better because of them. My planet is much better because of them, because my perceptions of compassion and realizing we have one planet, we're all humans. Um, I think that my life is much improved because of them. And I see other people's lives as well. I had a question earlier for you, real quick.
hmm
Um, this may or may not be true, and I'm willing to be wrong. But because of all of my contacts with ET have been beneficial, okay, I'm still here. no matter what. I mean, I've had a lifetime of seriously strange events happen to me, and I'm happy, I'm healthy, I, I'm doing great in my life. So, how could I consider them to be a negative, evil thing? I mean,
Hmm.
they've taught me seriously intense morals and lessons like integrity. What is integrity? You know, being responsible for your thoughts and actions. Well, that's self-empowerment. So our planet seems to come from victim and martyr. This is what you do. And the ETs have taught me no, self-empowerment is better. Like something to
Absolutely.
chew on, isn't it?
Absolutely. In regards to, I didn't actually get, unfortunately, I didn't read the first question I asked a little bit ago totally correctly, and then for some reason it blipped it off the screen. But I think the idea is that they were, in fact, the viewers, listeners were actually asking whether or not we believe that there would be some type of contact event. And I want to speak to that real quickly too, and just
You
say,
mean on a massive worldwide
right,
scale?
exactly like on a
Oh, I
massive
see.
scale. So,
Uh-huh.
and my answer is the same as yours. I believe it's already happening. I don't really feel that we have to have ET show up in front of cameras worldwide all at the same time. I think they're kind of doing this gradually. Um, so interesting.
I
Just
think in
just
the
interesting.
media they would be disrupted by a commercial. Oh, cut the air, you know. If
Right,
they tried to
right.
do a mass landing, you know, they would
Well,
find a way to cut it short.
there you go. And that's
Media
what
would.
what they're doing right now. I mean, they're these sightings are pretty huge. I mean, we've got the sighting in Mexico, we've got the
Getting
Arizona.
bigger.
Yeah, right, Texas, and right. In fact, any application on your phone, or you can go to the MUFON site or whatever else, and you're going to see all these wonderful sightings and reports on a daily basis. It's to the point I can't keep up with them anymore. So it does feel like it's heightening to me, and I do feel like that's what we're kind of in the crux of right now. I don't think it's necessary for them to all show up at once globally, but I'd welcome that.
I think once you're an experiencer, you realize that it's real. Once it's happening to you, uh, it's pretty real. So to me, it really it would be nice if our government owned their end of this and um, had full disclosure and then gave experiencers the kind of support they need and deserve. Seeing as how they haven't done that, that's what we're about.
Right.
We're listening to experiencers. We know it's real. You know it's real. Now what?
That's
You
exactly
know,
it.
we can't wait our government, the people that we pay to help us. Um, no, I think there's going to be a lot of changes, and I think once people find their voice and find their power, things will automatically change. And yes, I think someday there will be skies full of ETs. I have seen them. I've seen vast numbers of ships in the sky in physical reality in the daytime. They were not seen with the eyes, but for some reason I could see one of the white orbs, Bob, and I could see him, but with my binoculars, I saw the whole sky just full of white ships. And it took my breath away. It was like, oh my, I wasn't frightened, but I was stunned. Because once
Yes.
you take the binoculars away, you couldn't see him, but there must have been a perfect filter on it. And I was impressed. So
So
yeah, they're
exciting.
here, and if it's ready to be, see them. And I've noticed that you've been to my home, and we have both witnessed ETs from my home, and other people have been standing beside us, and they wouldn't see it. A
Right.
lot of times ETs won't let you see them if they don't want you to see them. You can take 1,000 pictures of ET, but if they don't want their picture taken, they will vanish off your camera. Some ETs love having their pictures taken. I have a lot of sky critters that just insist I come outside with my camera and bring pictures. So I'm a paranormal photographer. I call myself a paranormal paparazzi. So I
You are
take
indeed.
pictures of ETs.
And fantastic pictures.
So,
That area is so active. And then, of course, you and I have had some joint experiences in your home. Really lovely. It's
you've been
phenomenal, really.
to
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I've had
So,
mass abductions with a whole lot of my friends and stuff, so I have to give people warnings if they're new in my life and we travel, say, to a UFO convention or something. If they drive with me, I have to let them know that there's a good chance that we might have a bad experience.
there you go. It comes with a warning. Yeah, you should have a warning, UT crossing or something like that,
I
because it's
know.
just it's insane the
You
amount
two
of
on board?
activity. Yes, I remember in the early years too, I was pretty much in denial. I didn't like seeing the white orbs in broad daylight in front of your. There was a part of me that did. There was another part that was like, oh no, it's getting way too real. And then to use your binoculars and to see and observe that these were actually silver discs shining for us, very just crystal clear, Southern California day. I'll just say Long Beach area roughly. And that's, we all know that's a hotbed and for sightings, and it's just absolutely insane. Well, I've just received word from our producer that we are ready to bring Kiki on the air. Kiki
Oh,
Mumpets.
wonderful.
Yes, it's going to be a treat. So I'm just going to go ahead and hang out for that, and we'll get that camera up, and I guess just kind of keep chatting away for a second until she pops up on the air here.
Well, I would like to share the experience. Oh, here we go.
Oh, great,
I would like
great.
to share the experience of when my family and I were coming back from Mammoth Mountain, and strangely, my husband and my son decided I have to go to sleep right now. And for some reason, we left late at night. I don't remember why. So my boys are sleeping. I'm driving. I got it on cruise control. It's pitch black at night. And I see way off in the distance these two look like headlights going straight down from the sky. And I'm in my mind, okay, well, that's probably a car going down a mountain. I don't see a mountain, and I'm just assuming it's a car. But I didn't give it any more thought. So I'm driving, and I've got to be at work tomorrow, so I'm really trying to get us home. And the next thing I know, I look up and I see the sign that says, Welcome to Nevada. Oh, I flipped out.
Oh
And
yeah.
this long before, yeah. And so I started getting cranky and I said, What is this all about? How can I be going to? And I just ranted and raved. I get to be at work tomorrow morning. What are you thinking? And I'm just fuming. And I can't see anything. It's pitch black. And next thing I know, I come up to the sign that says, Welcome to, or Los Angeles, 164 miles. So I pitched a fit and they put us back in the right place. I thought that was so funny.
Absolutely. I mean, it is. You hear that about that stuff, and it's just so hard to explain to folks that this is really going on. Um,
Oh, it is. It is.
Perfect, perfect. Well, I'm going to go ahead in a second here and make this other camera live. Let me just see if we are ready to go. Other than that, I'll be picking on our producer. Hold on one second here. There we go. Welcome, Kiki.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes, yes. So
Hi.
hopefully you can hear us okay on the audio on your end.
I can
And
hear.
great. Okay, good. So what we wanted to do is invite you to the show, and we wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you first, just if you could explain. Oh, a little bit of kickback there. You could explain to the audience how it is that you became involved with the topic of UFOlogy.
Well, I've been a reporter for over 25 years, and first I worked in news, then I worked in a news magazine style show, and that opened up a lot of different topics that news normally didn't cover back then. And one of the topics was UFO contactees. There's a huge interest in the Hispanic community. Um, about everything that is paranormal. Maybe a lot of they don't know what they see, and I guess that is something that happens to a lot of people. They could see some people. There's a lot of very heavy contactee activity in Puerto Rico, for example, is a hotbed of UFOs, and there is a lot of paranormal maybe in Colombia, orbs everywhere. A lot of people, I think everybody has a story. Everybody has seen or felt something. You don't know, you may not have a label for it, but everybody. I don't think there's anyone in this world that doesn't have a miracle, a virgin, a crying Christ, something that they saw in the sky. So it became a lot. For the last 10 years, I've been doing stories that has to do with the esoteric in general. And that, again, is an umbrella where a lot of things fall under. And I have done a lot of stories with contactees. I have done a lot of, and it's extremely interesting. So when this opportunity I happen to be able to expand on it, I don't have a story, but I do have a lot of them that are other people.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's wonderful too to see people in media take this seriously because we know that it still has such a giggle factor. And what I found, especially within the Spanish market, let's say, depending on the country, obviously, but they just seem to be very much more open to this topic.
The thing is that the Hispanics have this intense relationship with the spirit world because of the religion. You still have a lot of not just Catholicism, but other ancient religions and everything mixed in. So for them, the spirit world, regardless where the spirit came from, is a reality. It's not something that is something almost physical. So they're extremely open. It goes through phases. In some decades, is the ET factor. In others, is the ghost. And I think it also reflects what they see in the television. Now there's a lot of ghost shows. Years ago, 15 years ago, was the X Files. So it all has to do also they project what they see or what they feel or what their story with whatever is in right now. But everything has a background, which is we saw something or experienced something and we don't know what it was.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, what is the attitude of governments in other countries towards ETs and ghosts and angels? What is the overall feeling tone of other countries?
Yeah, there is in some governments, like the Puerto Rican government, is extremely open.
Are they?
I mean, there is a place, it's called Lajas, that there is an extreme activity of UFOs. Everybody has seen one. And then there is a highway called the extraterrestrial highway.
Mm-hmm.
The extraterrestrials even have a day. There is a very open. Even there is the house of a former governor of Puerto Rico that is haunted. His spirit is there. And everybody talks about it, and everybody knows about it, and it is the most normal thing in the world to have his ghost all over the place.
What are these people afraid of? Okay, if they're not afraid of ghosts or ETs, what are they living in? Do you know what I'm saying?
They don't. I think the people that fear it the most are the ultra religious ones that don't want to accept it. If it doesn't fall in their dogma, those are the ones that immediately are going to say it's witchcraft, it's satanic, it's just not right. I think those are the ones that are the most closed-in towards everything. Because yes, they believe in their ghost, but it has to be the holy ones. The other ones so I think that's the biggest fear. And the other fear is the unknown, in the sense, are they coming here to attack us? Are they coming here to take over? Are they coming here to eat us? Again, is what you see, what Hollywood goes through. That's the view you have. So, as long as there's no real physical proof of an ET giving a press conference or because nowadays everybody has a camera in their phone, yet still all the images are blurry. So as long as there's no real tangible, people are going to go either one way or another. They're either going to fear or dismiss it, or believe in general that there's somebody out there because common sense tells us there has to be, but they're waiting for the WikiLeaks
Right.
to show up with the dossier on the White House on what they're keeping away.
Yeah. Well, if they showed up on the White House, which they may have done, you know, but even though we
Yeah.
invited them, so I think that we're learning and growing up to deal with this, and you and your and so many other people on the work mind, we're raising the bar. It's like, okay, we know it's real, no more pretending. We're coming from a place of reality. This is our reality. It doesn't matter whether they do it or not, it's still happening to us. So we need people like you that can go out and report and teach others that, wow, others have the same experience I have. Maybe I'm not alone. Maybe I'm not crazy. So,
Yeah, one of the most interesting stories that I did was it was a while ago. He was a contactee, and Christina, you mentioned regression, and they did several regressions with in several days, seven different, and he was put under hypnotized, and he will always go back exactly to the same place with the same words, with the same everything. So there is ways. I mean but is I guess what you guys are doing and what everybody that has come forth and said. One of the most interesting interviews for me always is people from the government, policemen, firemen, people that say, I'm talking to you because I need to talk to you, but I cannot say my name. And I saw it. And those have everything to lose and nothing to gain. And
yes.
yet they have the need to say, with my own two eyes, I saw it. So those are always extremely interesting.
My personal goal for all of us and people like us is to get beyond that. I want us to be proud of being contactees. It is something to be proud of. In fact, we're actually being and trained by extraterrestrials. I think that's pretty special. And to pretend
No,
that
I
we're
think it's extremely cool. And I've always wanted to be one, but I've never had the luck.
Be careful what you
running
ask
around
for.
there.
Mhm.
I think that's my goal.
Yes, no, absolutely, absolutely. And I do see in a lot of people that I've interviewed that sense of isolation, that
Right.
sense I saw it, and I know that it sounds crazy, but I saw it. And again, these are a lot of the people that are interviewed are normal people,
We
people
are.
that their normal lives, and they saw something that they can't explain. But really, everybody has a story. Even I have stories of things that and I, everybody, all the artists that I've interviewed, all the singers, everybody has a miracle. Everybody shows you their amulet for good luck because whatever. Everybody. It's a universal thing.
It is
Uh,
universal. It's try to pretend to think that we're crazy. It's more normal. A friend of mine told me that normal is sitting on a dryer. So, otherwise, we are all normal people. We're
Exactly.
just normal people having unusual.
yes, I would love to be alive the day that whatever happens and everybody sees it because it would be an extraordinary day. And it makes no sense. One of the most interesting stories that I've ever done is when the Vatican said that it was completely logical to believe in extraterrestrials.
Right.
And if an extraterrestrial will come along, they will baptize it. Considering the history of the Catholic Church, that it made Galileo admit that the Earth revolved around that the sun revolved around the Earth, I see it as a huge leap forward.
Yes.
And what everybody thought was, okay, what do they know that I don't, that we don't? Because for them to come out of the blue with this kind of things is something like, are they preparing the way? And I've interviewed a Jesuit who's also an astronomer who said it is eventually it will happen. The contact will be, and the contact will happen, and we cannot be so arrogant to think that we're alone. And that was from a Jesuit.
Yeah.
There's more kids on this planet that know that we're not alone than most adults.
Yeah, we're seeing
Yes,
that
yes,
more
yes.
and more. Oh, I was just going to say we're seeing that more and more too, where the more scientific community seems to little, slowly but surely coming out, you know, one by one, and at least exploring this or thinking of it in different ways. So it's important because it's with that kind of collaboration too that I think people are going to get over the fear factor of, you know, like the first thing that the FBI was saying whenever they did back in the 50s, 60s when they were trying to figure out whether or not humans could handle this topic is to say that, oh, religious and financial institutions will fall and it's all going to be chaos. So I think it's really kind of a little incremental, little by little. And the Catholic Church to come out and say that is just absolutely groundbreaking. And it seems like they continue to go that direction and they're preparing folks. They're the largest organized religion worldwide. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think they're preparing in the way because they don't want to fall. And if they say we'll embrace them because they are brothers and they are baptized material, I think it's a way of, in a way, trying to unite the whole religious experience and to keep the place in it.
Well, it's really hard for them to deny it's real when you have millions of people going see them, and now you have millions of people that go, I see them and here's my pictures. Really, you better move forward with us or you may be in the dust.
No, and the funny thing is, if God is not from this earth, he's an ET. So,
you know, yeah. Very interesting. Very forward thinking of you, dear. Kiki, I want to ask you about your show. I'm very excited about this concept of you're producing a radio show, and I wanted to ask you kind of what was some of the content that you were sharing. I know you and I are going to be coordinating quite a few efforts in terms of sharing guests and that kind of thing, but wanted to know if you wanted to speak about that for a minute.
well, my show is different because you guys have the contact that I don't have. You could be talking for 16 hours about your contact, and it will be fascinating, and people will be hooked. I don't. I have to bring in people that have had the contact. I have to bring in the experts. My show is also going to have to do a lot with the energy world. I mean, everything revolves around energy, and I'm going to be bringing in different people, people with stories, people with experiences. It's going to be a little bit
It's,
of
it's,
everything.
it's going to be
I look
fantastic.
forward to it.
I think it's going to be fun.
Yes.
It will.
It really will. It will. And I mean, I think there's really a warmth in the different researchers that I've engaged with on Facebook and whatnot that are in New Mexico or other places. They just are so much warmer and open as a community. It feels to me anyway in ufology. They're very, not so much backbiting and all of that, but it just seems that they really care and have a big heart about this. And I hope that we can really adopt that more here in America and wherever else, that we're not really fighting so much in the field, but we do unite in this way because there's so much wonderful information and strides we could be making that perhaps we're not because criticizing one another and all this. So there's just a warmth, and I'm very excited, and I know we'll have quite a bit of play in turning guests onto you as well that are experiencers.
That would be wonderful. Yes, no, I'm really looking forward to it, and this has been fascinating, and I could stay here and talk to you guys and listen to you guys forever.
Oh,
Oh,
good. Yay. we hope we're not boring everybody. Yes, that's good. Excellent. Well, we really, really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you wanted to cover this evening in regards to?
Blanca also has
Yay.
some ideas of what we're going to be doing and the people that you're going to be bringing in. So
I would
let
love
it.
that. So now we're going to thank you so much. That was Kiki Montez. And now we're going to be speaking with Blanca Pardon. I should say that she is the other founder of this UFO Miami group. So welcome, Blanca.
Hi, how are you girls?
We're
Excellent.
doing great.
Oh, yay, good.
Yeah, we were really enjoying everything, hearing you talk about just about everything, in the phenomena. And first of all, our group here in Miami is called Miami International UFO Awareness Group. This is something that my husband and I put together. Primarily, I jumped the gun first. He followed. But anyway, what we wanted to do was to bring the awareness to Miami and gather people so that, yes, we could be united and we could work through all this together as human beings on this planet, which I think is very important because I believe that there aren't many powers that want to divide us, because that way we can, I guess, succumb to pain and anger and everything.
Honorable
And
divided.
I think once we're united, and this is a great way to be united, I think by this screencast and having people come on board and talk about their encounters. I think that this is really great, and it's we're going in the right direction. Pretty soon we're not going to need disclosure, because we're going to be contacting them direct, and you know what? That 1% is not going to be with us, okay? And we're gonna we will end up, being enlightened, and I believe strongly that there will be so many beautiful things coming out of that, and that's what we're hoping for, and I think we're going to do that.
That's
So
fantastic.
Miami's great. We got a lot of members here, and very excited members, and we get together at least once a month. And this coming month, October, we're going to have a screencast also with Yvonne Smith, and she's a certified hypnotherapist that specializes in abductions. So she's been working for, I believe, over 20-something years. Even worked with Dr. John Mack, who's very well known in the abduction phenomena. And she's written a book, a very interesting book. I met her at Contact in the Desert, and she wrote a book called Coronado, The President, the Secret Service, and Alien Abduction, all in one conference. So what it is, it's about mass abduction at a UFO Congress in California. I'm about halfway through the book. It's extremely interesting, and I can't wait to finish it so that I can discuss it with the group. And, of course, then she'll be on, and we'll have questions for her and talk about it. So we're looking forward to that.
Very
Now,
exciting.
Yvonne Smith is a hypnotherapist, right?
Yes, yes.
She deals with contactees. And
Yes, that's her specialty. Yep, yep.
Right.
Yvonne Smith. So we can't wait to have her on the air, in our show. And I think our people really get a lot from it. They get a lot of information, and they're really open to this. And I think,
Right.
the phenomena brings us to the abduction, and the key is there. And we want to hear the messages that they're getting, and why they're being, having this contact, and hopefully, a little more about the different beings that are making contact and their methods, so that we can start analyzing what each group is saying, because we're not talking about just one group, we're talking about many, okay? And
People think that when you say aliens, you're thinking of one kind.
one little gray. No. There's quite a bit out there. There's interdimensional beings, and who knows? We may uncover a whole different type of being once we're really enlightened and open to all of this.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I really appreciate you girls, bringing me on board so that we can discuss this.
Yeah, we.
Hopefully, we'll get.
Oh, I was going to say,
Go ahead,
we
Christina.
appreciate you. I just wanted to ask you a question, Blanca. How did you become interested in the topic? Or when did this happen?
Okay, I've been interested in the topic since I had a sighting when I was 12 years old, very clear during the day. It was nothing but a circular craft of metal with in the most crazy lights that circled around this dome. I was outside. I had two other girls with me. They're 12-year-olds just hanging out and playing, and that thing just stopped right above us. Okay? It stopped above us, hovered for a few seconds, and took off at an incredible speed. I always make a noise whoosh, when it when it left, but that's how it was. And after that, it changed. It changed me, and I knew there was something more to it, and I didn't believe what people said, and I had my own, road to travel with it. And much later in life, actually about 2 years ago, I was able to have my second sighting right here in Miami. I live off the bay, and my bedroom faces the Turkey Point nuclear base there, and I could see it with my eyes from my bedroom. And I of course, we all look at the sky a lot, don't we?
Yes.
So yes, we do. And I was just looking out at the sky through the windows, watching the planes land and the helicopter go all around the bay, and I noticed something that didn't move like any of the other stuff, and I immediately woke up my husband. We had a telescope. Was it a telescope? Astronomical binoculars. And we were able to engage this with the binoculars, which just zoomed that object right up to our eyes. And I tell you, it was something else, because what we saw was definitely of a circular shape. And the greatest thing is that we saw windows. Light was coming through little square windows. That's how clear and crisp it is. And, no one can take that away from us. We know what we saw. And unless some military is using crafts that are circular with little square windows, but I really haven't seen them around. So I figure that is from outer space, from somewhere in the universe.
Absolutely.
And they're here, and they're keeping an eye on our nuclear, reactors and checking it out. Why not? It could, I guess, it could harm them in the long run, and so they want to keep tabs of that.
There you go. It's very typical behavior for an actual sighting, is for them to check that out. From what I understand, it behooves them also to protect themselves, because what we do if we do a our part, of course we affect others, in the cosmos. So of course.
A lot of people said, why didn't you take a picture of this? Now, I wish I could have taken a picture, but I was in bed, and if your eyes are on this thing that is defying everything you've been told, how could you leave it and go run and get a camera? I mean, we try, but there's just no way. It comes and it goes whenever, the sightings are something that you're privy to, and, it will happen when it happens, and you can't force it, although I've heard that some people can call them. We've even tried that with our group, so we'll see. So we'll keep trying.
Right. Well, Blanca, I wanted to also compliment you from the bottom of my heart on the work that you're doing there. We share a dear experiencer together, and it's funny because Bonnie and I talk about the same thing. There's so many levels of trauma to this thing a lot of times for experiencers, and I'm very impressed with the fact that even if you don't identify as necessarily being an experiencer, but that you've seen the craft, there's no difference. And that spiritual alignment that's required to kind of help others. This is not the easiest work. It's a deeper, and I believe a very
No,
spiritual work.
no, it's a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of research because we read a lot and we research other people's experiencers, and we look for common elements, and we really try to make it something that's correctly investigation, or something at least close to that. We don't want it to be just a whim type thing, or have someone say, well, you didn't do your homework. We do try and research every subject that we come across, and even our experiencers within the group, we ask them questions, and we pry, and we try to find out the truth. And let me tell you, there's a lot of stories even here in Miami, where for many, many years, I guess it was quiet. We've had some tremendous experiences here. We've had the abduction of Filiberto Cardenas, which was a Cuban, and that man was taken from a quiet place in Hialeah, and then placed I think he was like 18 miles away from where he was picked up, and he was abducted in front of his wife and two others, and so there were ample witness. So it's a great story, and he left Florida, and I think he moved to California, and we just decided that maybe we're going to try and look him up somehow and find him. Although I think he didn't really want to be found again. We're going to try. We're going to try, and if so, we'll bring him on board. And by now, he should be able to relate this in English. So that'll be fun.
He came to the wrong place. He wanted to ditch the ETs.
Yeah.
Some California is the hot spot.
I know. Well, and I would imagine if he had that type, he did have that type of contact, it would continue, or at least he would somehow have another type of experience.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Are you continuing to have experiences as well?
No, those two sightings, yeah, you always go back and you start to think about the things that have happened in your life. And I remember this particular night where it was a series of nights. I would wake up at a certain time, and I would see things coming for me. I'd see hands, faces, things in the dark, and of course you want to scream out, and you don't, and I would be, frightened because I was by myself, and I would fall asleep. And then, like the third night, I decided, well, this has got to go. This is not doing me any good. And so I remembered that you protect yourself, that you cover yourself with light. And I did that, and I went to sleep, and good enough, at about 3 o'clock in the morning again, I woke up, but this time it was different. There were no dark hands, there were no scary things. There was this wonderful person or creature or being standing in the hallway, and he had longish hair. He was in a robe, and I turned my head. I looked at him. I panned down to his feet, and he was not connected to the floor.
Oh.
And he was not connected to the floor, and I just turned around. Everything felt great. I fell back on my pillow and fell asleep like nothing had ever happened. And after that, nothing else happened. Nothing came in to disturb me ever again. So I don't know. I figured, hey, who was this person, and who was this entity? Because it wasn't a person. It was an entity, but he was definitely in a robe type, white robe type, longish hair. but he was not connected to the floor. That's for sure. Yeah.
Do you have
And I
any
things you have your you have your little bouts of psychic abilities here and there, and you connect with people mentally, and I think we all do this, and I think it's part of who we are. We're just beings, just like they are, but for some reason whomever is at fault for keeping us in the dark, whether it's our own fears or our government or whatever, that's all gonna go away,
Yes,
and we are gonna, yeah, I think that we are gonna unite, and we're gonna know exactly what we're all capable of, and what is out there. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I
And
would
we're all part of it.
Right. I would be more
Well,
going back to your experience. I would be more inclined to think that that was definitely a contact experience. Obviously, it's interesting that what's reported a lot of times is when the individual is interacting with ET, suddenly and then next I just went to bed. I felt great and I went to bed, and that's typically what we look for because we know they have that ability too to be able. Oh, everything's good. Go back to bed.
Yeah.
Nothing's going on here.
The other way, nothing happened.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just made myself look. Oops.
You probably wake up the
Yeah.
next morning and you're like, what the heck was that? I bet you still are like, oh.
Yeah. That it's something when you see something like that you can't really put it's not alive, but you saw it with your eyes. It's kind of hard to handle, but now I know that I feel that it was good because obviously whatever was scaring me before turned into something good. So I figured maybe he just decided to be nice, or he was there to protect me. So I don't know, but I accept it.
Oh, it's fantastic. Well, and it shows. What was that, Bonnie?
did you have anybody that you could talk to about it when it happened?
No, I was alone. My kids were already gone from the home, and I was living by myself. So I kind of kept that to. I told a couple of my friends, but people don't understand what
Right.
what you're talking about if they're really not into it. But I think that's what drove me to finally start the group, because I did want my family to know, and I wanted my kids to know, and I didn't want them to be left out in the dark, I don't challenge anyone, but I offer them information. I offer them information, and I think that's where it's at, and that's how we're going to unite. We're gonna share our knowledge. We're gonna share our experiences, and people will eventually get on board with this, and we'll go forward.
I agree with that.
Right.
Very much so.
Yeah. Well, this has been really fun.
Well,
It
it's
is
so fun
fun.
having you on. Yes, and I should ask too. I'm just wondering, is there anyone else in the audience there that felt moved to hop on camera with us?
Well, we do have a gentleman here who's a ufologist from Cuba, but he's working on his English. We'll have to give him about another month or so of intensive English.
No problem.
Maybe
He's very nice. He's also is a great artist. He's done some Anunnaki paintings that we own, a couple of them,
Or is
and
this
he's
the
got
the UFO coin? Yeah. Is it the?
Eloy. Yeah, this is Eloy Perez.
Well, then we're going to pick on him because his art's beautiful. It's just too bad.
Yes. And he has one back in Cuba, which I've promised.
It's on the cover.
It's on the cover of where?
UFO coin.
Yes.
Oh, it's on the cover of UFO coin. Yeah, it's called Metamorphosis. I love that.
I love it.
I love that. He had a few people trying to get offer him money for him, and I said no, that's mine. So, but we have to make sure that it leaves the island of Cuba and comes to Miami. So we're going to try and bring it over. Yeah.
Fantastic
Does
art.
he have
Yeah.
a website? Check out his work.
Oh, good
Oh,
question.
oh yes, he has a website that Enrique also made for him. It's Eloy EloyPerezReyes.com. All together, EloyPerezReyes.com.
And Paris is Paris or ES?
Oh, it's like Paris Hilton, Perez. Perez.
PER.
Perez.
There we go. And then Ray is REYES
Reyes.
.com. Okay, great.
Yeah, take a look at it. It's really, really nice. Okay.
All right, fantastic. Well, we really appreciate you joining us on the show this evening. And
You, you guys too. You did a great job.
thank you
Thank you
so
very much.
much. So it might not
Thank
be
you.
a bad, yeah. So, okay, I
I
don't,
guess we'll be back together for Yvonne Smith Spreecast, and hopefully you'll both be there, and we can share all the knowledge with everyone in the group.
I'd love that. It'd be
Wonderful.
fantastic. Well, thank you
Looking
again.
Okay. Thank you. Good night, Christina. Good night, Bonnie.
Good
Good
night.
night, Blanco. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Bye.
I
Bye.
know.
Oh, that's pretty great. Everything seemed to be everything other than audio. So hopefully our listeners, the audio seemed to be a little choppy on my end. Did it seem to be a little choppy on your end as well,
There's a
Bonnie?
lot of distraction in the background stuff.
Yeah, so that's why we're doing this, folks. This is our brand new show that we do plan on launching on the UPRN network, United Paranormal Radio Network. And so it's really a rundown for us to get our feet wet and then go ahead and take this in even more of a live format. I just want to reiterate a couple of different things here too. Just reminding folks that they can go to the website where we will, in fact, eventually, and that, by the way, that's ufoextra.com. And they'll be able to go to that website and see little video clips of experiencers also that will be airing all over YouTube and everything else. So we'll have a lot of different stories, and I think that's really important. In the early years of contact, for me, I could not find too terribly much online about it back then. 15 years ago, there was MoveOn, there was David Jacobs' site, and whatever else, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. And I think today it's just fantastic. Fast forward 15 years later, everything's just become so interactive. We have YouTube and all these other things that people can click on and get an idea of different flavors and versions of this thing to kind of try to make sense of their own contact experience. We know they don't all look the same, but there's a lot of similarities. So hopefully that'll make folks even more comfortable with that. So that's going to be super fun. So, Bonnie, you just wanted to check in with you. We are about 15 minutes on top of the hour. Did you want to go ahead and, I'm sorry, 15 minutes to the hour. Did you want to catch up for a few minutes on anything else before we wrap this up this evening?
Well, I think that as long as we relate to our listeners that we are uniting now, the movement has begun. We are the movement. There's no more denying our identities. And it's a wonderful feeling. And to have all of these other people that are facilitating support to experiencers all around the world, it's coming to fruition where we're able, there's so many of us supporting experiencers now, we're able to reach each other's hands across the globe. And it's just so exciting being a part of this movement. You know, they're here. We know they're here. Now,
Indeed.
nice.
Indeed. And before I forget, I also just got a note from our producer. It's UFOcoin.tv. So that's going to be phenomenal. UFOcoin.tv. Unfortunately, our producer is fantastic. Again, Enrique Delgado. He's just amazing with technology. We have been working on projects for the last couple of weeks, and sometimes he just amazes me. He'll crank something brand new, a concept or whatever else that we discussed just instantaneously. He's great with all the IT and all of that, and it's really, really appreciated because we couldn't do this really without having that solid background to make the tech work with everything that we're trying to do. Yeah. So, one question we forgot to address from our listeners was when was your last contact and what was the outcome? And Bonnie, I want to direct that to you if I could, because I'd love to round the show out, at the 9 o'clock. And if we go over, I'm thrilled with that too. Um, but just
Okay.
wanted to make sure that that question got addressed.
Okay, well, I'll be happy to take that one. It was 2 weeks ago on a Sunday. I'd just gotten home from Las Vegas and I was wiped out, dead meat, tired. And I went to bed and I laid down on my stomach and it felt like I was laying on a mouse. I felt something solid move between my body and the bed, and then my body started vibrating. And it's like, oh, it's time. Crap. And then I went to sleep. So that was my last experience about 2 weeks ago.
Fantastic.
And
Now, broad
I
daylight,
fixing to get bored. No, this was nighttime. I was going to bed.
nighttime.
Actually,
And
it was probably early, about 7 or 8. I was tired.
was this
But,
experience the one where you told me you felt something touching your stomach as well, which was the kind of the part where you're like, what the heck? Or is this
well,
a
yeah,
different
it
one?
felt like something about the size of my fist, and it was moving around like a little mouse. It was about the size of a mouse, and I could feel it between my body and the bed. It's like, oh my God, did I lay on a mouse? And then I felt my body start to vibrate, and I was like, oh, it's just Bob. So I'm like, fine, I'm going to sleep.
I
So that was
love
my
that.
last experience.
That's exciting. I love that feeling, by the way, the vibrating. It was more painful for me in the early years, and I'm curious if it was painful for you. It was something technically, I don't know what that's about, but it definitely in the beginning it felt like I was just being pulled apart, by like every cell, like on a cellular, just absolutely, and then reassembled, and it was very, very painful
I think
to
part
me,
of
like
that
an
might
electric
be
shock.
resistance or the fear. Yeah. Yeah, it might be your
Mhm.
resistance because I don't resist. The bottom line is I'm sitting here right now. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I've got a great life, considering I've had all of these experiences. So they haven't hurt me. In my opinion, they've helped me grow mentally, physically, spiritually, and I like that. I like being
Oh,
in the light much better than being in the dark. So when was your last experience?
I wouldn't know. I believe, well, a lot of that's deliberate, and I believe that the ETs that I'm involved with are respectful of my times, where I'm just saying I cannot handle contact that I'm consciously aware of. So what I've been experimenting with lately, knowing that I'm psychically connected to them always, is going into that actual conversation telepathically is the most effective for me. And when I'm meditating, and I've been pretty amazed. I actually was doing very well recently when I was visiting my mom in California, and for whatever reason, um, I have tremendously fulfilling contact experiences there, and I don't know if it's just the comfort of her home, but I've definitely noticed it increases when I visit her. Here it's a little bit different, and that's okay because I don't want it to take over my life or to in any way impede the other work that I'm doing, but I miss them. And I have been saying to them recently, telepathically, okay, I want to see you again. This is great that, I'm having these experiences in a little fragment here or there that I'll remember, but give me something juicy. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of nights or days here.
Well, I haven't had anything happen in a couple of weeks, and I'm fixing to get cranky with them. Like, well, come on. So, yeah, I have no fear whatsoever, and all of my entities, and there's been many, many different kinds of beings. We can talk about that next time, what kind of different beings I'm familiar with, and maybe some way we'll find some to be able to show you my pictures,
Yes, that's
some
a
of my
great
pictures.
idea. That is a great idea. We can find a way to insert those so our listening audience can get a feel for the amazing things. I remember back, it's funny you should bring that up because I'd seen the typical orbs and the flying saucers over your home, but when you start talking about the sky critters, I thought, what the hell is she talking about? You know, really, I did. And then I saw these pictures, and then what really shocked me was the fact that I'm seeing pictures now globally. So, Bonnie, if you would for a second, you know what, I'm even going to add that to the, because it's so important. This is I don't think as well of a documented sighting, but if you could just get into the sky critters real quick, and I'm going to add this to the air.
Okay, well, in 2005, I got the impression that our dimensions collided, like two clouds just melding into each other. And I started seeing sky critters. For example, I have no idea how big these things are, but they're sky worms. They move across the sky like a worm. And they seem to me bigger than a bus. And they're very telepathic. They love having their picture taken. They have a kind of like a halogen headlight on them, and they can cloak themselves dark. They can change colors. They can glow. I've seen the white orbs coming off of them, so that may be the mothership, but I do believe it's an entity unto itself. And um, sometimes they'll call me outside and say, "Take my picture." I'm like, okay, so I have lots of pictures of them. And then there was another one. It was like a bunch of little balls in a pyramid shape. And I had been sitting in the house, and I got this message, "Come outside and bring your camera." It's like, oh man, there's no shade out there. It's hot. I'll come out later when it's cooler. They got very insistent. "Come outside and bring your camera." Okay, fine. So I grabbed my camera, went outside. 60% of my pictures have been taken while I'm lying flat on my back with my camera pointed straight up. I tell them, if you want your picture taken, you have to fly past my camera. And they do. So I found a little bit of shade across the other side of the yard. And I was laying there with my camera, and I said, okay, come on, I'll take your picture. And he flew by too fast. I didn't get his picture. And so I said, well, I didn't get your picture. If you want your picture taken, you're going to have to come back. Well, he stopped. He came back. And then I have a 5 or 6 picture sequence of him shape shifting. So he's going from this pyramid shaped thing and winding up as a flat blob of all these colors. And it was like, wow, that was worth coming out for. Thank you. So they gave me that as a gift. It's evidence, it's proof, it's all, well, more than I need. I know it's real. So it's just a phenomenal series of pictures.
It really is. It would be great too to, you know, as we've talked about before, is finding there's not too many folks out there that seem to be actively examining, um, you know, pictures within you. I mean, I know there's a few, but it would be really interesting to just find that too and do that deeper work, because that's the first thing that I know people always scream about. And it's funny because I know you really well. And it's like, well, I can tell you what, she wouldn't be photoshopping or anything else because computers drive us mad. And I've
Yeah,
been there. Yeah, I've been there. I mean, even I recall that day that you and I were watching TV together in your home, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, there's that heavy, 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 you know, suggestion
gotta
for
go to
me to
sleep right now.
yeah, and it was ridiculous. It was not rational. And I remember your husband walking in and saying, "Okay, girls, well, you want to take it to the bedroom because you're both crashed out on the couch?" And we said, "Okay." And so again, and we must have been down for hours. And I remember that same thing coming to and saying that was definitely an encounter. There's just such a difference. You can feel it. There's an energy.
Yeah.
There's a
Well, we had
vibration
seen
to
the
it.
ship before we went in the house, remember? We saw the
Right.
ships, and then we went in the house to watch TV later. And then we said, gotta go to sleep right now. It's like, well, this is weird, you know. And I
Hmm.
remember us just going to the foot of my bed and just plopping backwards, and that was all I remember.
Right, right. From what I remember too, that same weekend, but it was the night before, I had a contact experience in your house too, and that was just incredible.
Okay.
They were, yeah, giving me a screen memory that it was, for whatever reason, my mom's shower, and that was the screen memory because it was a shower that it was a home that we moved out of. So I'm thinking, all right, well, that's not right. But, um, very strange. And I could feel their hands. I could feel them levitating and kind of putting me back. And I remember my body was relaxed and my head kind of fell backwards. And I'm kind of giggling to myself going, all right, guys, just screwed up. Put my head on, I'm going to fall, paralyzed, help. And then, okay, they put my head back, so it's just kind of cool. I love that we have that in common. And I just love Bonnie so much. I love you so much. And I really, really appreciate the fact that I could feel so transparent to say, please help do the show because you taught me so, so much. And I think that we balance each other out. Hopefully our listening audience will feel that as well, that because we have, yeah. And you've helped me to get over so many levels of fear and you've introduced me to so many wonderful people, but namely myself and really just accepting myself in these experiences. So I just honor you so greatly and all the work that you do with all the experiencers. And I know it's tiring. Yes, you taught me how though in so many respects. I've had a lot of good mentors throughout the years, but you're definitely, this is probably, I would say, the most important work that I've ever done in my entire life. It's the most fulfilling, spiritually fulfilling.
It is
And
very satisfying.
it, it really, really is. So it's just, it's an honor to be here tonight, and I can't wait to build on what we're doing, and I can't wait for all the wonderful connections and stories that are just waiting to be told out there. In regards,
all the wonderful experiences we're going to meet, and the stories and the adventures. Oh, and the picture. Yeah, this is exciting.
yeah,
This is very exciting, and this is the beginning of something huge. It's my goal, besides the mermaid joke, is global unity for experiencers.
I love it.
Everybody take it around the world.
Absolutely.
It's our turn.
Absolutely. And it brings us full circle too as we end the hour. The reason we chose the title Beyond Lies the Truth, and again I have to give credit to our producer Enrique Delgado, but I really loved that, and Bonnie and I actually discussed that, and it just resonated because I was telling Enrique when I saw that on the UFO coin site, I said, oh, the thing that my mind clued into was lies and then truth, and then kind of flipped backwards beyond, and I'm saying, okay, I get it. And that's really what we're up against right now. And I want to just send massive hugs, especially to the experiencers that we dedicate this show to, because that's really what's going on here, is that we are being fed a lot of lies globally and old programming, and we're being able now to sift through that, get beyond it, and find these beautiful truths. So I just thank you so much, Bonnie, for joining tonight and helping co-hosting, and I can't wait to do more of this. It's just phenomenal.
Thank you for inviting me to join you. This is just phenomenal. It's just my dream come true.
Yay! Good.
And I want to mention, we got one more minute. Yep. I want to mention that UPX, United Paranormal Experiencers, if you break it down, it's up, and then X marks the spot, up here. That's why I loved it. And my friend Tammy gave me that UPX, and it's just like mine, I love it.
I love
here,
it. Yay.
Here we are united. Yes.
That's perfect. And I understand that your website's getting worked on now, so hopefully by the time that we launch our show on UPR Networks, that we will be able to announce that. And
we will be meeting there.
Excellent.
And it's actually going to begin as a private club for experiencers. So the first 100 members of UPX are members of the private club. They're charter members.
Excellent.
And then after the first 100 members, we'll be going to a nonprofit foundation. Then the next phase will be for-profit as we grow.
Okay.
So we have plans.
Yay. All right. Well, that sounds fantastic. So I think we're probably going to wrap it up. You've been listening to Beyond Lies the Truth. We just want to extend a big thank you to our listening audience this evening. And this is Christina Knowles and Bonnie Ferruccio signing off. Have a good night, folks. Take care.
Have a great night. Talk to you next time.
Woohoo! All right. See you soon.